I'm just looking in the chat where everybody is from, and this is awesome. I'm very used to presenting to people within the United States, but to see that Germany and Newfoundland are here, though it might be Newfoundland. Don't know if potato, I don't know. I say the dogs one way, so I don't know if I'm right. Massachusetts, Newfoundland. Thanks, Lindsay. So I am going to do 2 sessions. We're going to start with hidden disabilities, and I would love this to be the session that you want it to be. So of course the Q&A is there for you to ask anything. However, if you're able and you want to just unmute and talk and ask something, go for it. This is not a raise your hand, wait till she takes a break kind of a thing to just jump in. So the hidden disabilities. So I'm just curious what we already know about it, or what about the session made you want to come today. You can talk to me anywhere you want in the chat. I've taught secondary education and I've taught college, so my wait time is sick. I can wait anybody out for answers. Thank you for whoever laughed at that. So nobody has any idea why they decided to join this session. Awesome. That's encouraging. That's also sarcasm. It's an issue. Ugh. Yes, not being recognized or accommodated. Oh, thanks, Lindsay. Well, you'll have to let me know if you actually learned something new. Because if you don't, that'll stink. So, yeah. Thank you, Ian. Thank you guys for chiming in. And I very much, Roxanne, I agree a lot with what you were saying about a lot of the times hidden disabilities aren't recognized because they're hidden. So we're going to talk about some microaggressions that happen. So I do have a PowerPoint, but it's not that kind of a PowerPoint. So it's not death by PowerPoint, I promise. So let me share my screen, and again, chime in any time. And I am a screen sharer who knows how to do this. You guys can hit those emojis as we go. So I cannot see you right now, but hopefully you can see this green screen. So I'm going to get out of here just to check again that you're able to actually see it. Thumbs up. Okay, cool. Thank you so much. So I have to actually leave that PowerPoint to be able to come back and check the chat and stuff like that. So I'll do that here and there. So here's one thing I didn't know, is that this sunflower is actually a symbol of having a hidden disability. So there is this website that I totally took this from, hiddendisabilitiesstore.com. You can actually download this so it can be your screen behind you in a Zoom or any kind of virtual meeting session that you have, which I had no idea about. But other diseases, issues have ribbons and things like that. And those of us or anybody who has a hidden disability, they are signified through a sunflower, which I thought was kind of nice. Okay, so here's some stats. They can be a little frightening. And I am not a let me read to you because you can read yourselves. But women are more commonly hindered by invisible disabilities than men are, just statistically. 75% of us don't use assistive devices. So these stats are a little bit more current than these are, because over here it said 73. And part of me wonders if now assistive devices consist of wheelchairs, canes, walkers, hearing aids, magnifiers for low vision, things like that. So voice to text or voice to type or things like that. Anything that helps you get through is considered an assistive device. And while so many people have some kind of disability, almost 3/4 of them don't use any type, there's the German Shepherd, don't use any type of help. Part of me wonders if that's out of just being sheer stubborn, or if it's because of, oh my gosh, then people will know. So I just want to pop back into the meeting real quick and see what's happening in the chat, if anything. Nothing's happening. Okay. Anything happening in the Q&A? Nothing's happening. Okay. Anybody have any thoughts on the fact that there are so many people who have hidden disabilities but don't want to use any kind of assistive device? Now, these are, I'm going to show you some of assistive devices that I happen to have as well. So assistive devices can be compression gloves. So if you have a condition where your hands swell or it makes it difficult to type, no one's going to be able to tell just by looking at your hands. But the second you put these gloves on and you wear both instead of just one, you look different than Michael Jackson. Bad joke, I know. Knee braces. All the Velcro. Knee braces are considered assistive devices because maybe they help you walk. Maybe they help alleviate pain. They also, because of course I dropped one, they sell these for your feet. So you actually put this for your feet, and you strap this around your foot. So then this way, if you have any issues with your feet, that can help. So assistive devices are not just wheelchairs. They're even elevators, using the elevator instead of using the stairs. Oh, well, if someone sees me do that, they might think I'm lazy. So I'm going to hop back into the presentation since nobody's talking, but that's okay. Maybe you need a whole lot more. 96% of Americans, so pretty much everybody, has a chronic illness. and that chronic illness is invisible. So, chronic means it's not going away. Many times, chronic illnesses don't have a cure, and it's just, there you go, deal with it. Again, I apologize that these stats are for America only, but I definitely didn't even think to look into Hamburg and international stats. But probably if we added the rest of the world into this, it would really fuel those numbers. So, microaggressions. Typically, we talk about microaggressions in terms of diversity and equity, where if someone is of another race and you say, oh, well, your race doesn't matter to me, that's actually a microaggression because it's kind of dismissing their heritage because their race matters to them. So there are microaggressions are those things. If you would think about the things that you say with an excuse in front of it, like, I don't mean to be mean, but we all know what comes after the but is about to be mean. So some of those help explain microaggressions. Sometimes these microaggressions are nonverbal. So anybody who has a handicap placard and then gets out of the vehicle but looks normal, and somebody shoots them a look like, why are you parking there? Like, what did you do? Steal your grandmother's handicap sticker just so you could park closer? All of those are microaggressions. It's almost like you doubt that what they're dealing with is legit. So ableist. I don't know if you've ever heard of this term of ableism. So ableism is being able to do everything, or someone having the idea that just because they're able to do everything, other people should too. But you don't look sick is now usually these microaggressions to people who have hidden disabilities, man, do these aggravate the crap out of them, out of the people who have the hidden disabilities. Oh, but you're so young. Maybe you should just try Pilates. Or, oh, my grandmother has that. She takes ibuprofen. Even when someone is trying to be kind with, you're an inspiration. I could never deal with that. They mean it nicely, but it doesn't come across that way. Can I pray for you? They look at, it's almost like but no way, because I've seen you do X, Y, and Z, so there's no way that you can suffer from this. And the person with the hidden disability is probably because you caught me on a good day, not on all of the other bad moments. Must be so nice to sit at home all day. Don't you miss this? One of the worst ones is one of a very common type of hidden disability is rheumatoid arthritis, which has literally nothing to do with arthritis, but because the word is in it, many ableists say, oh, my grandmother has that and her knees hurt when it's gonna rain too. Like, that's the extent of it. Differently abled rather than disabled That is something that came out within the hidden disability community because you don't want to be looked at as disabled. Because sometimes your body works, but your mind doesn't, or your mind works a little differently and your body is fine. So, for other people with other hidden disabilities to say something like this isn't a microaggression. But when somebody is fully abled and say something like this, then any kind of comment that makes you feel like you just got punched in the gut, that's a microaggression. Or I am Sicilian. So if any of these, if you are hot tempered or Sicilian or Italian, whatever, and any of these kinds of comments really, they make your sarcasm or your attitude want to come out, it's a microaggression. I'm just going to stop quick and pop back in and see how we're doing. Nothing's happening. Are we doing okay so far? You could just use thumbs up. Oh, I got thumbs. I got thumbs. That's a good sign. Okay. All right. So here are some examples. This boy is 13 and this one, no, 14 and this one is 10. If you're not sure, a glioblastoma is a type of a brain tumor that leads to brain cancer. But again, the idea behind this is they look fine. They don't look like they have anything wrong with them. I'm going to give you time to really read everything for the person on the left. I will say for this woman on the left, all of these issues did not happen in one instance. So there wasn't one single instance that caused the traumatic brain injury, the broken sternum, the pelvic girdle issue, the broken spine. They didn't all happen at once. PMDD, that has to do with hormones. I believe it's perimenopause disorder or something along those lines, but it has to do with female hormone fluctuations, which literally are like disabling. So if you didn't put it together yet, that's me. And I suffer from a genetic form of rheumatoid arthritis, which is why I get all of the microaggressions. I have arthritis and fibromyalgia. I've suffered, those are relatively new, meaning I'm about 4 years into my battle. But I've had the bilateral chondromalacia patella since I was 12. And to provide some context, this is my best friend. This is my mother. I'm just going to go backwards. These are my grandmothers. Both are now passed. These are my childhood best friend's parents, different from the other best friend in this. These are my nephews on the left who are both colorblind. And this is my very good friend's husband. So these are just the people in my inner circle who have hidden disabilities. Now, I found out that these two were both colorblind at Thanksgiving because they were coloring a turkey. And for those of you not in America, I don't know what Thanksgivings are like in other countries or if it even exists, because I think it's probably an American holiday. But for Thanksgiving, a turkey is, when you're in grade school, like that's what you color. You color pilgrims, you color turkeys. And typically the turkeys have a brown body and then multicolor feathers in the orange red zone. And both of them were sitting side by side coloring turkeys. And as they've been coloring their entire lives, as they held up the crayon, they had to ask me what color the crayon was because they couldn't differentiate between yellow, orange, red, and brown because they were so close. There are actually different types of color blindness. Blue-green is the most common. But yeah, they can't tell the red spectrum. So from yellow to brown, orange, and red. They can't differentiate different shades. So when their turkeys were done, the turkeys were a little interesting. I think they ended up with red bodies, and I mean, they're kids, who cares? But they can't get rid of being colorblind. Luckily, the glioblastoma is treatable. Typically, it ends in death, but he has been fighting it for 13 years, and he is amazing. His son is on his lap, but I didn't want to show this kids. He is going through chemo currently. She was diagnosed when she was 52 years old, which was about 10 years ago now. She is in a home because she was getting incredibly violent, which is just a part of Alzheimer's, unfortunately. He quit his job so he could, retired so that he could stay home with her because, oh my goodness, if there was ever a couple who loved each other so much. But he would have bruises and bite marks because of how violent she would get. So they finally decided to put her in full-time care. And she is now at the point where sometimes she remembers who her kids are, sometimes she doesn't. So these boys are actually their grandchildren, and they no longer visit grandma just because you don't know what you're gonna get, which is terrible. This is my mother's mother. So you saw my mom. I think it's on the next slide. And she died when I was 5 years old. She was a longtime smoker. She developed lung cancer and it metastasized to her bone and her brain. And she did not suffer for long before she passed. My grandmother, this grandmother, passed away in 2010. I don't remember how old I was then, but she actually was 84 She was only 62. But this is my father's mother, and both sides are Italian. She was making an Italian dessert called pizzelles and was trying to deliver them to somebody and tripped and fell, broke her hip. And she was already beginning to have early stages of dementia. Her mother also passed of Alzheimer's, so it runs in the family. Alzheimer's isn't fully researched. There's no cure for it. You can't tell if it's Alzheimer's until autopsy, but there are significant markers at this point, and there is a genetic trend with Alzheimer's. But she was pretty much doing well for an 84-year-old until she broke her hip and had surgery, which exacerbated the dementia into full-blown Alzheimer's. So she broke her hip in March. She turned 85 in October, and by December, she passed away on December 20. Sorry, dog. She passed away on December 21st of 2010, right after her 85th birthday, because she decided she was going to be stubborn and go to the bathroom on her own in her care facility, fell, and she had a brain bleed. So that was what happened there. I know these are such fun stories, aren't they? These stories are a little better. My bestie was just recently diagnosed with fibro because I have it first. So I was telling her that some of her conditions were kind of lining up. She went, and there is no test for fibromyalgia. It's symptom based. So she was able to be put on the correct medications. Her anxiety is now under control. She actually had an amazing test done. She had a genetic test that told her which it was blood work, but then it was sent for genetic testing. And it gave her back all these different categories of medications and which medications would react horribly on her and which would be the best. And when she got this report back, she was on all of the horrible medications. So now that she's kind of in the green light area of medications, she's getting her life back. We met during my undergrad. I love her to death. And then the woman I cannot live without, my mother. She actually suffered from the traumatic brain injury when she was 17 in a car accident. The sternum happened when I was 21 from a car accident. And so did the spine. The shattered pelvic girdle was just spontaneous in 2019. The cataracts have been fixed. Plantar fasciitis is a foot condition. Lactose intolerance is actually on the list of hidden disabilities. Crohn's disease, which is also genetic. So I was diagnosed first with seronegative rheumatoid arthritis, which is a genetic form of RA, which means all of your blood tests come back fine. But if you do the genetic testing, then that's how you find out it's actually RA. So once I was diagnosed, then she and her sister, my aunt, went to get tested, and they both have seronegative rheumatoid arthritis. But because my mom has to one-up everybody in the disease department, she also has arthritis, osteoporosis, and osteopenia. And the broken sternum and broken spine and the pelvic girdle had to just heal on their own. There was no way to surgically fix them. She does not have a plate in her head, so she is actually missing a good chunk of her skull. Her feet can never be fixed. So of this whole list of stuff, only her cataracts have been fixed. Um, and she can run circles around me. Because the thing is that hidden disabilities, they impact each person differently. So I can take medicine for my lactose intolerance, whereas she does not. Migraines, my mom and aunt suffer from, so that's hereditary. The feet issue is from her. Um, so asthma can be treated but can never be cured. Sleep apnea can be treated and possibly cured. Um, but the seronegative RA, the fallen arches, the migraines, the arthritis, the chondromalacia patella, and the fibro, um, I will suffer from those for the rest of my life, which is why I happen to have all of these assistive devices next to me that I showed you. There was a 2-year period where I didn't walk literally at all. Then I used walkers just to get around my house. And I never, I was college administrator and I still did my job fully remote. But because I was remote, and I looked fine, a lot of my colleagues didn't understand, well, she looks fine. What's wrong with her that she can't be in the office? Um, and it led to some stuff. But we have some ways to help people who have hidden disabilities. But before I go into those, I just want to pop back in and see how everybody's doing before we go into the things that can help people. How are we doing? Talk to me. How are we feeling? Have we learned anything new so far or not much? I got a thumbs up, which is nice. Thanks. Is anybody going to talk? So some of you might be wondering, what in the world does this have to do with instructional design? I am an instructional designer. I'm an LMS. There's all the thumbs up. Like, what does this have to do with anything? That's what we're going to get to in a minute. What does this have to do with anything? So to go back to some of what, yes, absolutely, Roxanne. And we are just going to talk about that in a second. Invisible disabilities absolutely includes cognitive disabilities, not just physical. There's just no one in my family who has cognitive disabilities to include in the in the PowerPoint. But I want to show you a list of all of what is actually considered a hidden disability, because you might be like, oh my God, I actually have that. But how does this connect to instructional design? How does this connect to colleges and things like that? If you are an instructor, so I was an instructor turned techie. So now I do LMS administration, instructional design, professional development for faculty, and also teach. If you are in an education realm, there are, especially in higher education, it is up to the student to go to accessibility services and tell accessibility services that they need help. More often than not, it's you in the classroom with these students who they admit something is wrong, or you're the one who picks up on it. And sometimes they just need to feel brave. Um, and even though you, as an instructor, as a designer, you don't sit in the actual accessibility intake interview, you can absolutely introduce the student and go with them, to introduce them to accessibility services and let them know all of the things that are available to them. I was working at a community college, and I had a student who had a hidden physical disability, and she didn't know where the elevators were in any of the buildings and didn't know that she could use them. So and she was afraid someone would see her and say something. So we went to accessibility services and we just put it on file that she needed to be able to use the elevators. As far as coming from a workplace environment, you absolutely have every single right to have a physician send a letter to HR stating what accommodations you need. So, when I am in the office, I need a heating pad behind my back. I have a special ergonomic chair. I need to be able to wear sneakers. It seems like such a small thing, but because I'm an administrator, I always like that written down so it doesn't seem like I'm always dressed down. I need to take breaks. And sometimes you might walk in my office and I'm in the middle of doing some yoga because I need to stretch. I also need something under my desk so I could prop my feet up. I don't have the compression gloves on my accessibility list, but I do have it from a physician that I need to be remote sometimes. So what this has to do with instructional design is having screen readers involved in everything that you do, making sure that all of the items are accessible with alternative formats, with alt text, and really conforming with UDL. Because when you consistently design things in a consistent manner across all courses, then the students are able to find those things easier. So let's go back into the PowerPoint. There is I want to show you this pretty cool website, and I will put the link in the chat as well. So can you see this website, Resolve? Yes, you can. Okay. Let me put the link in the chat. Sorry, I don't mean to be switching screens so quickly on you guys. So Resolve, there are tons of software now that come with like colorblind checkers or colorblind simulators, Venngage, Canva, Canvas, the LMSs themselves, Google. So many of them come with colorblind simulators. So you who doesn't suffer from color blindness can actually see what it's like. But this is a website that my faculty and my students have used, you can actually utilize this website. You can download it for Windows, for a Mac, or for your iPhone. And these are the different things that you could use for your phone. But what you can do is you actually, and you can use this on the web as well, is what this does is you can take a screenshot of your screen and you can put in what type of transformation you want it to have, what type of color blindness you or a student or someone may suffer from. Um, and it will change the original image, the original desktop, the original screenshot or anything. It removes the colorblind filter from it, so to speak. So someone who suffers from color blindness can see a desktop or something like that the same way as somebody else who doesn't have it. So on the homepage is where that description is. So it transforms the colors of the computer display. This is also, so if you are an instructional designer, one of the things that I did is when I was designing courses or I was helping instructors design their courses, is I was putting a link to this website. I was putting a widget, whatever you're using, to access this so that students had another way of looking at things. It can be downloaded. It doesn't need to be, but I find this to be such an amazing tool. I have had faculty who have used this who were colorblind. I had no idea they were. And when I explained this tool, they came back and told me they were colorblind and how well it works. So these are just some samples of how it can change an image depending on the type of color blindness that somebody has. So this might be how they see fall foliage, which is basically the term for how leaves change color. But this is what they should be seeing. And I was very heavy on the air quotes with that. They're expensive, but there are also glasses that are made for color blindness where you can put the glasses on and you can see everything the way everybody else has. There's an amazing video on TikTok where a woman bought these for her now fiance, and he literally just sobbed. And she showed him different colored balloons that weren't blown up. And he cried when he got to the red balloon because he always thought that color was purple. So he was able to then actually see for the first time what red versus purple looked like. And I asked the creator permission. I took those videos and I put them into orientations that I had done with students. So that is Visolve. What do you guys think of that one? I know we did not get to the cognitive ones yet, and I am very mindful of time. Sadie, you said that, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. You said that you had some knowledge, but felt that you don't know enough. Do you feel like you're learning anything yet? Anything new? Has anybody learned anything new that they didn't know before? Anybody? No? Resolve. We like that tool. Let me show you another one that I go nuts for. So for Resolve is really awesome. The next one though, I love even more than Resolve. So there was somebody, I think it was Roxanne, who said that invisible disabilities also include cognitive. Yes, it was Roxanne. Um, Many people, unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know, uh, many suffer from dyslexia. Many suffer from ADD, ADHD, um, or, even, I mean, I work a lot with faculty and students, and if you send them information that's like this big of a paragraph, they are not going to read it. Anybody understand what I'm saying? My mother's nickname, my mother doesn't have any cognitive disabilities, and her nickname is the skimmer because no matter what I give her to read, she will just glaze right over it. Oh my God, I love that acronym. Too long, didn't read. Then this method is called the bionic reading method, and it works for anybody. So I introduced this to my faculty in an email by doing it with them. So there is, of course, a website that explains all of it. And I am going to put the link in the chat so you can read more about it. But our brains can handle way more language than our mouths can keep up with. So if any of you have like dozed off or drifted at some point, it's not like it's okay, but it's because that's where we end up filling in the blanks, or we assume we know what someone is going to say or what the rest of the email is going to say, because our brains can handle so much so fast, even those with cognitive disabilities. So the bionic reading method is awesome. Let me show you the main screen as my dog barks. Sorry. If you have ever heard of reading with expectations or listening with expectations, that's what it's called when someone's talking and you fill in the rest of it because you think you know what they're going to say, or you read a piece of it and your brain fills in the rest. It's not something that we necessarily mean to do, but this is the bionic reading method. So there's two ways to do this. I do this a little bit differently, but you notice hopefully right off the bat, that there is a distinction between bold and not bolded letters. That's what the bionic reading method does. Of course, there are things that you can purchase. I don't even know what the products are, but this is how I utilized it for my faculty. So I am going to, the only thing is, yeah, okay. Let me pull up a blank Word document. So let me demonstrate what this means. Now, if my hands were really hurting because of the hidden disability I have, there is actually a way to just dictate and Microsoft Word will type for you. That is in Office 365, in case you didn't know that. I think this was too long, didn't read. Yeah. I'm writing this really quickly and it's just coming off the top of my head. So this works with math, it works with numbers, it works with words. So in the bionic reading method, it's about bolding part of the word. That's not how I use it. That doesn't even make sense in a way to educating. So now if you just read the bolded words, it's an email. Instructional designers use the bionic reading method for emails where people want to read, educating, having a great time, hope learned about disabilities, helping. If you read just those, your brain probably can at least fill in the gist of the rest of the email. So we learn as instructional designers that you utilize color in specific ways, because those who are colorblind, that color, that's not going to help them. But even people who are colorblind can differentiate between bold and unbolded. But with the bionic reading method, if someone is dyslexic or again any of those cognitive disabilities, or is just in a rush, and I absolutely love and may put into my new vocabulary TLDR, the bionic reading method gives a way of, let me just, if you just glue the bolded words together, hopefully you got a gist of what I was talking about. All right, I'm coming back. Oh, Donna, your dog barking. My dog barking does not make me smile. Because I'm like, sorry. The bionic reading method is actually shown to help those with dyslexia, because when they look at a paragraph, many of the times the size of the paragraph can just be intimidating. People with dyslexia, that's where selecting a few words, because those with dyslexia invert sometimes letters, sometimes words. So if you're working with someone and you know what type of dyslexia they have, you can then customize the bionic reading method even more for them. But and according to that website of these people who created the bionic reading method that I put in the chat, it is to help people with dyslexia. Now, I did have one more link, but I am just going to pop that in the chat for you. I wanted to send you. So, yes, even though it's old, it's from 2015. They have an entire alphabetized list of hidden disabilities in case you want to learn more about them. And they are also clickable. So you can learn more about what each of those hidden disabilities are and gain more information from there. And I have exactly 2 minutes and 10 seconds for questions and whatever our founder is about to say.
I wanted to ask you a couple questions just about relating it specifically to when you are, say creating content or creating courses or anything. So, as somebody that has hidden disabilities, I mean, are they like just your thought process as you're developing and you're creating or producing things? Is it like, do you focus primarily on the disabilities that you're related to when you start creating things, or like what's the mindset?
When I create, so you notice within the PowerPoint, there were descriptive links, which for many can be like, well, that's a no-brainer. When I design, I think of, oh my goodness, if I have these and I see that list from UMass, what could anybody else have? So it actually makes me more conscious of designing with equity so that no matter what somebody has, they can still access this content. So if I'm going to design an instructor's syllabus, yes, I am going to make that Word document accessible, but I'm also going to put it into a PDF that's OCR'd. And I'm also going to put it in an HTML version so someone with a screen reader can use it, or someone can pop it into Visolve, or they could use all of the tools. So Blackboard Ally is a fabulous tool within an LMS. You can buy it separately, even if you're using a different LMS. Blackboard Ally offers alternative formats so that students can choose to take this file and turn it into an audio file, a Braille file, an HTML, an EPUB, and you're actually able to then export the data each month to see which alternative formats were utilized the most. So no, I don't think of just what I have. I think if this is what I have, then what could anybody else have?
So is the general, do you think, well, like when you're building things, is to try to keep content, like say visually simplistic versus complex, like, or how do you have any like sort of a basis for what you go for when you're creating things?
When I use visuals, I am very cognizant that if it's a complex visual, then there is a very complex alt text that goes with it, or there is a link with a more simplistic visual of the same thing. I mean, sometimes with charts and things like that, when you're designing for science, it's difficult to get around, that picture of the atom we're all used to where it's placed. But sometimes I might take that image and turn it into something more relatable. Like a nucleus might be a golf ball and a basketball and things that someone has seen before, rather than how it looks. Like, so if I have a complex image, I'll create my own that turns it into something that, it's a watermelon, it's a peach.
No, that's a good point. Interesting. Saida is saying, love the UMass
Sorry, I said
list.
the name wrong.
I'd love it more if it was comprehensive. I didn't actually look at the list yet. So
the PDF should be incredibly comprehensive. It's an A to Z list, but it's a PDF. So actually at the top of the PDF, if you click on it's A through Y, it shows other, actually, I'll just share my screen really quickly because I have it up. I'm sorry, I'm going a little over, but
yes, I had added.
So that's a great observation about PTSD. This list was put together in 2015. So there may now be disabilities, like what you had said about PTSD, that have since been added to the ICD index, that, haven't been updated since 2015. But if you scroll to page 3, so see 10/28/15 is when this was compiled. So that's where the A through Y comes in. So up to P.
Okay, got it.
The way I wanted it to.
Okay. All right.
But yes, there definitely may be a far more comprehensive list, and
interesting. Okay. All right. Well, we should probably wrap it up, Kris. We were like going on 70 minutes here. So how about this? I know that
oh my god, the next presenter is going to be so aggravated.
What's that?
The next presenter is just going to be so frustrated.
Yeah, we're really running late, and that next presenter is going to be livid. So is it okay if I scheduled it for like 11:30? You want to take a break, say hi to Bear, everybody can, just sort of, relax for a second, and then we'll get together at 11:30 and then wrap up the conference with that last session about
yes, and
about the cost.
Second session isn't as long as this one was.
Okay, sounds good. All right, everybody. So you know what? I don't have, wait, let me pull up. The session title is The Price of Not Making Courses Accessible Literally, which I thought was really a compelling session title. So everybody, let's just, if you're available, let's meet together in about 20 minutes in the next session room. If you go back to the schedule, you'll click in there and you'll find it. Kris, also for you too, you're going to have to back out and go into a different session room because it's just a different instance. So if you just go out to the front page, you'll find it on the schedule.
Okay, because I was like, I don't have that link. I only have this one, but thanks.
Yeah, there was just one link, but it'll let you into both rooms. So you're one of those special speakers that had more than one session.
Well, I hope you guys got something from it.
I'm going to go ahead and close it all out. We'll see everybody in about 20 minutes. Thanks, everyone.